Hi, I'm Abigail. I'm 17 years old. Have you ever had to protect someone else's secret in all kinds of ways? I had to. Watch this video and you'll realize that sometimes this is the best thing you can do. It all started when my brother Jonathan grew breasts. No, let's start from the beginning. We have a big family. Parents, uncles, and aunts, cousins. I have several younger siblings and one older sibling. Our family holidays are noisy. Everyone gathers. It's the law. But Jonathan hasn't been home for the holidays since he left for college 2 years ago. He always had convincing excuses, and in the end, my mother said, "Enough. Either you bring your ass to Christmas dinner or we're going to have a serious conversation." Jonathan always had a difficult relationship with my parents. It's the burden of an older child. He shouldn't have done anything unusual, be impertinent, or get bad grades, because he should be an example for us. He didn't dare to argue. College changed him a lot. He grew his hair, pierced his ears, and even changed his speech. Do you know the feeling when you meet a person after a long separation and can't recognize them? To be honest, at first I was shy and didn't dare to talk to him. On the first day, I tried a conversation with him. I bragged about my progress and asked how he was doing. Jonathan answered reluctantly, confused the name of his friends, and then he laughed nervously and suggested that we talk more about me. It looked strange. 2 years ago, he talked about himself without shutting up, and I couldn't get a word in. Why so modest now? Maybe it was just a bad moment. I watched for my brother to find a better moment. It soon became apparent that he kept to himself and nervously evaded questions. And also, he was taking pills. No one noticed that because he did it quickly, hiding in a corner, but he was constantly taking something and had this look on his face. Mom and Dad talked about the horror of big cities, but is my favorite brother a drug addict? What would you do in my place? Would you tell your parents? Maybe I should have done that, but it was during the Christmas break, and I didn't want to ruin everyone's holiday. What if I'm wrong? I decided to postpone the conversation until the end of the holidays, and rightly so. I began to watch my brother carefully. I rummaged through his things, I checked his phone, and I spied on him while he was changing. I wanted to see if there were any needle marks on his hand. Instead, I saw breasts. Small breasts. The size I had in the end of middle school. But still, breasts. My brother carefully hid them under a layer of bandages and put a t-shirt on, like it was nothing. All through dinner, I didn't know how to avoid staring at my brother's chest like a junior who's just been caught up in puberty. And at night, I quickly began to look up the answer to my question on the internet. I had to go through a lot of garbage and weird porn, but in the end, I found worthwhile articles from medical journals. And I sobbed into my pillow for the rest of the night. I could barely get up for breakfast because the internet said it was a tumor and that it was probably fatal. That's why my brother doesn't answer questions. That's why he takes the pills. That's why he didn't come home. He's been fighting a terminal illness for the past 2 years, and he doesn't want to upset us. I was so ashamed. All day, I tried to be at his side. I gave him things before he asked, saved the best portion at lunch, and when my aunt was rude to him, I shouted at her so that I was sent to bed without dinner. My brother snuck into my bedroom at night. After all, he was a good brother and wanted to know what had happened. He even brought me a piece of pie. I started crying again. I hung around his neck and told him how much I love him and that he was a hero to me, and I wouldn't tell anyone his secret. But he was hiding everything from his parents for nothing. They would be happy to support him. "You're crazy," he said suddenly. "They'll kick me out of the house and won't pay for my studies." What? Throw your cancer-stricken child out on the street? Now I looked at my brother as if he was an alien. Then Jonathan sighed and said, "We need to have a serious conversation." But I had to promise that no one would know about it. And the first thing he said was, "Hi, Abigail. I'm Joan, your older sister." What? It turned out that Jonathan had felt more like a girl than a boy since high school, and when school ended and Jonathan was able to go to college, goodbye, Jonathan. Hello, Joan. 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 I had to repeat it several times to get used to it, but then I saw my brother smiling. My sister. And I realized that the practice was worth it. Joan was lucky to get into such a college. No one is confused by her story. She is not the only trans girl on the faculty. She has a lot of friends and even a couple of fans. And with the money saved from part-time work, she has started a course of hormone therapy. That's why her breasts are growing and her voice is changing. Have you ever received such news? Maybe you or your friend came out. Tell us in the comments what the reaction was. I think I might have reacted a lot worse if I hadn't believed the day before that Jonathan might be dying. After that, the news about Joan was a relief. But I was very annoyed that Joan was hiding everything from our parents. They may not be a gift, but to kick her out of the house? We argued about it, and I laid awake for a long time until I came up with a brilliant plan. While everyone was asleep, I snuck up to the tree and left a special gift there. All I had to do was wait for them to open them. All day I was in an ecstatic mood because I was the only one who knew the most interesting secret in the house. I even hinted about a big surprise. Joan flinched nervously each time, but I was determined. At dinner, I started talking about a star that recently came out, and all of a sudden, my parents, who seemed to me strict but kind people, suddenly, categorically, said that this topic would not be discussed in their house, and that they would not tolerate such behavior from any of us. Then Dad said it was all Jonathan's bad influence, and I didn't talk about it until he came. And my mother looked at me intently and said that she hoped I didn't have any strange thoughts in my head. Otherwise, we would have a serious conversation. Joan and I met each other's eyes, and for the first time, I realized how scared she'd been. I wouldn't want to go home either. My cousin tried to smooth things over and offered to open the presents. The children ran to the tree, and then I remembered my brilliant plan. Too late. My mother handed out gifts, and then she took a pink box from under the tree that said, "From Abigail to Joan." Joan? Who is Joan? All the other relatives looked at each other in bewilderment, and Joan looked as if she was going to be sick. I was hoping that after a nice conversation over dinner, Joan would relax, my mom would find this gift and ask who it was for, and I would push it to Joan, and she would come out to the tree, and then everyone would cry and hug, but everything went wrong, and now my mother was looking at me as if I was about to be shot. And then I blurted out, it was a gift for Jonathan's girlfriend. Mom glowed. She and my father were so afraid that college would turn Jonathan into a homosexual, and he had a girlfriend. Good boy. Joan's secret was saved. When everyone left the table, I apologized to her, and then she opened her gift and found a set of cosmetics. I was going to give it to my friend, but it meant so much more to Joan. Now my sister was sure that at least one person in the family would accept her any way she was. Maybe our parents will still accept her as I do. Or maybe Joan's story will remain a secret to them. But I will support my sister, and I have already decided to go to the same college so that we will stand together. What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Like this story so that other YouTube users can see it. And please, subscribe to our channel. Have a great day!